Now in this section, we'll talk about different networking devices which will be used to set up a network. Like in the previous section, we have seen some basic overview on the network. Network is the interconnection of your devices to share the information and the resources. Now in this section, we get into more in details on what are the different types of devices we use, like switch, access point, routers, and firewalls, and then IP phones. And also we will talk about some of the small devices which we use in our home internet connections. So let's get started with the first device, switch or a hub. Now hubs are something not really used in today's networks, but we'll talk about more in details on what are the drawbacks of the hubs in a separate section called switching concepts. Now hub or a switch is a device which provides a centralized location where you can connect all the computers. Like take an example, I got some computers in the LAN and I have some 4 computers or 5 computers, and I want to ensure that these 4-5 computers, whatever I have, I want them to communicate with each other. Now I'm going to take one cable and we are going to bring one cable which is going to connect from switch to PC, switch to PC, switch to PC, like this. Now switch is a device which provides a centralized location where we can connect all the computers in the LAN. Because possibly if you have a big network, we cannot connect them each other directly. We need to connect everything to a centralized device. Now we'll be using some Cisco switches here. We'll talk about that more in detail, but here we are getting into some basic introduction. What are these devices and what they do exactly. So when you talk about LAN, local area network, it's really important that switch is a very important device which will provide you the connections. Now in simple words, we can say without switch or a hub, we cannot build a LAN. If you have some 4 to 5 computers or more than that, switch is a mandatory device which is used in any company networks. Now the next thing, we may also have some other device called access point in your company networks where you can also connect your computers. You can see I got some computers here, or laptops or desktops, or it can be a mobile phones. We can connect these devices to a centralized device without a wire. So we are going to connect the devices without a wire, and that's what access point will do. Now access point will do the same job of a switch where we can connect our computers in the LAN, but without having a wire. We can connect through wireless. Now this will have some wireless antennas. We call it as access point. It is going to radiate some signals within the area, and as long as you have your computers or within the coverage area, we can have connection between them without a wire. So in this kind of scenarios, we use access points. Now typically you'll find wired network, wired LAN, or wireless LAN, 2 different types of networks. Now the next important device we need to know is Cisco routers, or not generally routers, we call it them as. Now router is a device which is used to provide a WAN connection. Now WAN, like take an example, I got a branch office in India here, in Hyderabad in India. I got a branch office and I got another branch office in Dubai. Now I want to ensure that these 2 different branches should communicate with each other. Now probably I need to connect, because within the LAN we are going to set up via switch a LAN, and there's one more LAN here, and we want these 2 different LANs to talk to each other. Then what we'll do is we'll take a router. Physically it looks like this, a flat box, but diagrammatically when we represent like this. Now we are going to connect them to the router, and we connect them to router. We take a WAN connection given by the service provider. We'll talk about more on connectivity in the later on sessions. Here we are just trying to understand the basic functionality of each and every device. Now router is a device which provides a WAN connection where you can connect this device to the LAN as well as to a remote location called WAN. Now in simple words, we can say that if you want to set up your own WAN connections, or if you want to connect to a different location or a different LAN, we need a router. So router is a device which provides WAN connections on a different which connects 2 or more different LANs. Now the next important device we have is Cisco firewall, or a normal firewall we can say. Now firewall is something Now firewall is a device which is going to protect your network from external threats. Like take an example, I got a small LAN here, and this LAN is connecting to some other branch offices here. Maybe this is my Hyderabad branch office, and I got another city, Bangalore branch office, and everything is working fine. Now this branch office also connects to internet, like every organization connects to internet. Now internet is the biggest network where everyone is connected. Now there is a possibility that there is an attacker sitting here on some location, will try to, because as he is connected, he will try to access the resources in my LAN, or maybe he can try to send some kind of virus programs or some codes which can impact the performance of your network, or it can make your network down, and we really don't want these things to happen. Now to provide security for your network, what we can do is we can configure a firewall, a separate device called firewall, which is going to filter some unauthorized packets. Now in production networks, if you want to secure your network, probably what we'll do is we are going to configure a device called firewall, which is going to filter each and every packet. So it's going to check each and every packet, and is going to figure out what are the authorized and unauthorized packets, and it will ensure that any traffic which is supposed to come from outside, it will not come back. It will not enter into your LAN, and it will only ensure that your traffic going will come back, the return traffic we can say. So it's a more security device which will do a lot of things like preventing the unauthorized access or verifying the packets, keeping some information on that. But in simple words, we can say firewall is a device which provides security for your LAN. It prevents from some unauthorized access into unauthorized packets getting into your LAN. So Cisco also develops these devices. We got a different vendors in the market who develop these devices, but whatever the vendor, the firewall will do this job. Like it will prevent some unauthorized access. We can see the snapshot. This is a Cisco firewall. Cisco's firewall. It looks like this. Now the next one more device, we have something called IP phones. IP phones are typically, it will allow you to send VoIP, voice over IP. Like take an example, I got a branch office in India, and I got one more branch office in US here, and I want to ensure that I have a continuous voice communication or voice traffic going between these two different branch offices. Now to send your voice, either you can use a normal telephone lines which we use for making calls. Probably in the production network we may not use them. So what we'll do is we can connect one kind of phone called IP phones. Now these IP phones are more similar to your normal phones which you find in your landline phones, we can say, which the basic difference is these phones can get an IP address more similar to a computer. They can be connected in the LAN to a switch. We can connect some IP phones here on both the ends, and we can allow your voice traffic to go over the existing network which is built for sending and receiving the data. Like initially when you talk about any networks, like networks are only meant for sending and receiving the data and sharing the resources. But now in today's network, using the same network, we can make some voice over IP. We call it as a voice over internet protocol, where we can allow or send and receive some voice as well as videos. Like we can have some online access to the videos, or we can have some video conferencing applications like Skype, or different applications we have on the internet which will allow you to have a voice and video as well. Now typically that's what these IP phones are going to provide. These phones can be connected to the switch, and you can send and receive the voice signals over the existing network which is built for sending and receiving the data. Now this is another device you may find in the networks. Now let's talk about another device which you will find in your home internet connections. Now probably we refer that device with some different names. but we call it as a wireless router or some internet router or DSL router, something like that. But it will do multiple jobs here. Now the router which you'll find in your broadband connections or home internet connections, it has inbuilt multiple features. Now it has inbuilt some ports which we call them as LAN ports. Now using this LAN port, it is doing a job of a switch here, where you can have some computers connected. If you have some 4 computers, most of the wireless these devices supports 4 ports. That's what I have seen, or it can be less or more than that depending upon the brands. Now these ports are more similar to a switch where we can connect some computers in the LAN. And then it also have some one kind of port we call it as a WAN port. Mostly it will be like RJ45 or it can be RJ11 kind of connector, where you can have if you're using a telephone operator or DSL cable connections, it will have RJ11. It varies. Now whatever the connection coming from the service provider, ISP will provide you the connection, and that connection comes over here, and this is what we call as WAN port, or in simple words, it is doing the job of a router where you can share the internet connection. Like normally, if you take any broadband connections, the service provider will provide you the line, and you can only use any one computer for internet access. Now if you want to share that connection with multiple devices, we can take the line and we can connect to a router, and then the router connects to a switch, and we can share the internet connection with multiple users in the LAN, because the router will be we are taking the connection on the router and then we are sharing it to multiple devices. But in the normal home internet connections or the home devices, if the people are not really technical, it's not a possible job to get a separate router, separate switch, and separate wireless device. So instead we use this device which has inbuilt a router feature, and also it has an inbuilt switch feature to share the internet connection. And also the good thing is it also have some antennas, or it is going to generate some radio frequency signals, or we can say wireless signals, which will allow you to connect your laptop, or it can be a mobile phone. We can connect it to the network, and we can share the internet connection in between multiple devices. Now the good thing is it has an inbuilt switch and a router and a wireless device. Like it has a built-in access point. It's doing a very basic job of access point and a very basic small switch and a router. So it has all the three features inbuilt in that. So that's something what we use in our home internet connections, and the ports might vary depending upon the type of the connections you are using or type of the modems we are using, or it depends. Like it also, if you're using some broadband connections through DSL operators, telephone operators, it also have an inbuilt modem which will convert your audio signals or the analog signals to digital signals as well. So it will do a lot of jobs. So we got some different devices we have, like a switch is a device which provides a centralized location where you can connect all the computers in the LAN. And then we got some access point which provides connectivity in the LAN without a wire. And then the routers or the devices which are used to build up a WAN connection, and there is a firewall which provides security when it connects to internet. And then we got some IP phones for VoIP, voice over internet protocol, sending a voice traffic over the existing network which is built for sending and receiving the data. And then in your home internet connections, we use some kind of device which has an inbuilt switch and a router and a wireless antenna which will provide some wireless connections where we can connect some device like mobile phones, laptops without a wire.